Welcome to the Superabound podcast, where vision-led entrepreneurs learn to build a generous business without sacrificing what matters most. You are listening to episode 345.
Simplifying your business for success. Even though we're talking about simplicity, I took over the title there. It's easy to get wrapped up in knots.
Yeah.
As a business owner, everyone seems to know the right thing, and it's always different than what you're doing. So, we're going to help you untie those knots, de-stress about how to build your business so that you can actually enjoy the process and see the success that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think that, we very intentionally titled this episode Simplifying Your Business for Success because I think a lot of people have it in mind that if they simplify their business, it is going to lead to like less revenue, a worse business. And I think that we're seeing so much, especially at the beginning of a new year, like people trying to do everything and be everywhere and, market on every possible platform, send out all of the sales emails, pivot quickly, pivot hard. And it just feels frenzied to those of us watching. And I just want to help you really think through what maybe could be simplified. So, one of our values at Superabound is simply no drama. Do you want to share why that is?
Because business is hard enough. It's hard enough, and people are going to be throwing all kinds of stuff at you. You're going to have all kinds of problems to deal with, and it's going to be easy to add more systems, add more SOPs, add more headcount, and that's going to add drama. And so the goal is to actually find your path forward that is simple, that's drama-free, because that's the only way that's actually going to feel good for you to build. And in the end, you're building your business not just to make money, not just to have make a difference in the world, but to do something that you enjoy.
Yeah, and I think, we're also speaking to those of you who may be in leadership roles because listen, there are just so many people out there who have businesses that are built on helping solve problems. Our business, Superbound Coaching, we're here to help you solve problems. But I think that in the last several years, so much marketing has become telling you what you're doing wrong and telling you what's missing. And this is going to be the one thing that unlocks all the success. And with all of that sort of in the service-based business world happening, I think customers are really burnt out. I know as a coach, I've mentioned this on the show before, but like I am so sick of seeing coaches only talk about the pain points, only talk about how they're basically like triaging some emergency situation for their clients. Like they're basically selling that someone should only work with a coach when it's a serious, terrible time in their life. And I think that that not only is a disservice to all of the work that coaches can do, but I think it also makes our industry look really bad. Like it looks like I only can work with a business if they're about to be bankrupt. I would like to, as a coach, not do that because that's a hard job for me. That's a hard job for my clients. I can help someone who's really suffering, but it's so much better for me to work with a client who's, maybe thinking about a pivot, maybe whose revenue wasn't as great as it was the year before. It's so much easier to do really good work that's preventative and not an emergency.
And so I guess that's a good place to start when we think about simplifying your business for success is what would success look like for you? Who do you want to be as you're creating that success? It's easy to feel like, everything's falling apart, that all the problems are insurmountable, but a lot of that is actually static. That's you saying, I'm not where I should be. I'm not doing what influencer X told me I should be doing. And so, the revenue is not where it needs to be for me to get to the business that I had dreamed of. Taking a step back and saying, what is the business that you're dreaming of? Who are you as the leader or entrepreneur that you want to be? That starts to ground things in simplicity through authenticity. And when we talk about success, that is really the main metric. There's no dollar amount that's going to lead to success. Success is your own feeling of worthiness, your own feeling of accomplishment. And so resetting that bar to say, how am I making myself feel worthy right now? How am I feeling accomplished right now? Where could I get to as a milestone that would confirm that I'm accomplished and worthy? That's how you start to build success, is from a place of already succeeding rather than trying to do a thing that someone is telling you you need to do in order to get that success that's somewhere out there.
And, we've talked about this a lot, but I think it really does go back to you have to know what your vision is. And if you don't know what the big top of the mountain vision is, I mean, that is something we can help you with. But at least knowing, what your next lantern is, what is the next place you want to get to? Because most of the time when we overcomplicate things, it is because we are just trying to like figure out how to appease all of the things. It's really a sign that often folks are in the goal swamp. Trying to get the status, get the position, get the revenue, get the, follower count, get the promotion, whatever those things that people will outside of you will say, this will make you feel successful. If you're not grounded in a bigger vision for the legacy you want to have with this life you have, it is really difficult to keep things simple or deconstruct things to become simple again.
That's deep.
Deep.
That's deep. I want to talk about the business building steps now for simplifying your business. If you don't have what we just mentioned, none of this is going to matter.
If you don't have what we mentioned, please do a discovery package with me. In 3 sessions, you'll have a vision. You can find out about that at besuperabound.com/consultation. Even if you have no intention of continuing on doing a big coaching package, I don't care. I want to help as many people find their vision as possible. And that discovery package really is a way where you can test drive the coaching, but make sure that that is crystal clear for whatever you're about to do.
And that your own inner static isn't obfuscating that vision for you, right? That discovery package is as much about discovering who you are as a leader as it is about what it is you want to create in the world. So absolutely. If those things are not deep seated in your soul,
yeah,
we can help.
Invest $1,000 in 3 sessions to work with me or Steve. Steve is really limited right now. Steve's very popular. His time is mostly spoken for, but
we start singing songs about it.
If you really want to work with Steve, you can, of course. But I do have some spots for discovery, and that I think is task 1.
Yeah. With that in place,
business building. Okay, so you have your vision. It's crystal clear. Now what? Now what do we do?
The place to begin with simplifying your business for success is what people are resonating with the most. You may think that you're most valuable for offering X, but if everyone's asking about offering Y, if the whole marketplace is talking about, this other thing that you kind of do or could do or had once done, maybe you should start talking about offering Y. Don't fall in love with the place that your business started if it's out of sync with what people actually want. And so the simplification is aligning with the market and cutting down the things that don't match with that. And the way you can tell if you're aligning with the market is if you get on a sales call and people's eyes light up when you talk about that certain thing. They're talking about their pain, they're talking about their problems, and it is with that other thing that you do. Cut away that first thing. So, for example, I'm working with a software company right now, and we started in AI messaging. And when we talk to people about AI messaging, they're like, uh, and we switched to marketing, filling blank spots on their calendar. If they're a short-term rental owner, we talk about marketing, and they go, "Hey!" You know, the eyes light up. They say, "Tell me more about that." And so what we've done is we've stopped talking about the AI messaging almost entirely. We focus all our effort on the marketing because that is simpler. It's in response to what people want, and it gets the conversation going. It puts us into the game where before, the game was kind of happening and we were sort of in it, but we weren't core players.
It's so good. It's such a good example. And I'm sorry to say this, like a little bit. The thing is, you said this really beautifully, but like a lot of times people fall in love with like their first idea or they fall, especially service-based businesses. Like I would consider that a service-based business, you're supporting other business owners, you're supporting other humans to do their thing in the world. Um, a lot of times people think and mistake their vision with like a really fun, fantastical idea about how they would like to spend their time. I will speak to the coaches and consultants here really specifically, especially people whose like website is all about them and all about how this is their dream, this is their business, this is who they love to help. Like they make it sound like, hey, please come work with me so I can live my dreams. I'm all about living your dreams, but that is not compelling marketing. That is not, your clients, your customers don't come in and think, I'd love to pay this person $20,000 so that they can really live their best life. That doesn't work. I've never had anyone say that
Your
to me.
mama, not even your parents would sign on for that.
It is one of those things where you can love an idea that you have. I love my ideas all the time, but it has to resonate with the market. And where you love to spend your time sometimes does not.
And so this is where the social platforms become
Mhm.
interesting. This is where your website becomes interesting because this is the quickest and least expensive way to test out this question of resonance.
Yeah.
Where is the pain? What do people need? What are they looking for? How do they talk about it? How do they think about it? If you are going to simplify your business for success, you need to be refining that message. You need to be testing that hypothesis. Are people most in pain with their short-term rental marketing, for instance? Or are they more in pain with the amount of time they spend answering repetitive questions? Don't do both. If you do both, people will be like, wait, what are you? Who are you? What do you do? Who do you help? Do one over and over and over. If you do it for a month, if you do it consistently, and you don't get the response you're looking for, that might be the sign that you need to change up that messaging. So the simplicity is about what message will get people the most engaged so that we can grow. Because when we're talking about success in business and in revenue, growth solves all problems.
Mhm.
If you are able to get that wheel turning, then everything else is going to follow. You're going to be able to hire the help that you need. You're going to be able to pay the wages that you want. You're going to be able to take the time off that you need. Like everything follows growth. And if you aren't resonating with people, you will not discover that growth.
And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
I've had people come to me very upset that they believed in, like, I've got to diversify my message across 20 platforms. Listen, there's people who are amazing at doing that work. And if you're in an industry where you need high volume customers, that kind of makes sense. But if you're a high end one-to-one business, you're trading your time for money, chances are you probably don't need a really fancy content calendar with three social media managers and all of the things. that is like someone else's sales message that you have believed is true in business. I know some amazing social media managers. Like I'm not down on that in the world, but I had a client a couple months ago come to me and say they were about to spend a lot of money hiring someone to take over their social media because they felt like they needed to be on 5 different platforms and they needed to be cranking out content. And when we really kind of coached on why that was, it was coming from a mindset of scarcity, of fear. And while they were waiting to kind of make that decision, I just kind of offered that maybe they could just make a video in their car while they're waiting to pick up their kids at the airport. They did that. It got more engagement than the flashy thing. I want to just, this is like maybe a little bit offside,
No,
but
I love this tangent time.
this is a little tangent. I actually, as a customer, I am noticing I am super burnt out of seeing a lot of businesses over investing their time and their resources into like flashy social media. When in my mind, I'm just like, I think it would be better if you just took a class to be really good at what you do. This is totally a personal judgment. Maybe other people don't feel this way, but like if people on social media are like dancing or doing a video with like 100 cuts and they're like a hairdresser, I don't know that that tells me that they're really invested in the hairdressing part. I want to see my hairdressers work. I don't want to see them doing a TikTok dance or like whatever people do. I want to see how a massage therapist thinks about the body. I don't really need to see like, I don't even know, like just like some random stuff that clearly took a lot of time and has nothing to do with how they're going to help me.
I had a conversation with one of my marketing mentors yesterday, and she said, great marketing is boring
Boring for the person making
for
it.
the doer.
Yeah, for the doer, not for the audience necessarily.
Well, that's the thing. It's boring for the doer because you are repeating your message. You're finding a different angle on that message. You're just putting that message out there. And it's going to feel like, God, I have to do this again. Yes, you have to do this again. People are going to forget about you. You're going to fall off their radar. If you aren't staying in contact with who you are, what you're doing, how you can help them, how you help someone just like them, the boring stuff, it's like being in shape. You do another workout, you do another workout, you do another workout. It doesn't feel like, posing on stage at Mr. Olympia or something. Like you only get to Mr. Olympia by doing the workout, doing the workout, doing the workout. And so that I think is what we're also talking about with the simplicity is what is your commitment to the everyday process of greatness?
So this might be really good news for a lot of people who are like, have been cranking the social media, like making reels every day. You might be like, oh, thank goodness someone just said this. Because I do think that this whole idea of like, you need a viral video and you need 10 reels a day to go to, to really grow your business. I think that might grow your followership. But if your business isn't like, I don't care if somebody on a totally different time zone who doesn't have a business, I do post pictures of my cats, but I do that for fun. But like that, if a picture of my cat gets 100,000 likes, that does not necessarily translate to something tangible in my business. And I think that just like remembering that if you're using any of the kind of social platforms, use those things to build trust, to build consistency. Do those things to show that you're a real person who can really help people.
It's building a relationship at scale.
Yeah.
You don't build a relationship with someone by walking up to them and doing a backflip.
Unless you're like a backflip teacher.
Unless you're in acrobatics, exactly.
Or there's like a something I do like the idea that like marketing should also be fun sometimes and it should be entertaining. I think that that's all true. That if that like adds to your vibe, 100%. Um, Influencers will tell you something totally different, but that's their business,
Yep.
right? So I think if you are a business that needs people to trust you, to value what you have to give, really think, how am I putting this out in the world? And do I really need to be on 20 places if that is taking me away from doing the work that's going to be valued by my customers? That is a way you can really simplify things. I will also just share, same client who we she opted, not me. I didn't make her hiring decision for her. But when she opted not to hire that person, one of the things that I do offer with clients is content whispering. And so I started to kind of look at her social media stuff because I know her values, I know her vision, I know her clients. And we were able to get some really strong marketing messages together through our coaching on Slack. So that's another thing I will just put in this is that simplifying your business is also making sure that maybe you stop having all of the siloed help and all of the different experts who are maybe telling you conflicting things that you have to somehow put together, and maybe working with more holistic people. For you, that might be a fractional COO. It might be a Superabound coach because we do think about your well being, your business strategy, your mindset. And then we do that content work with you as well. Anytime you can get someone who can really see the big picture and meet you as a whole person in your business, in your career, I think like it's maybe like crass, but it's like you get more bang for your buck that way.
Yeah. And if you're running a business, that's what you want.
You need more time back, more energy back, and more resources.
More impact for your dollars, more time back. So if that sounds like something that will help you grow your business, we'd love to talk. Come over to besuperabound.com/consultation and we'll schedule a time to meet.
So finally, simplifying your business, start with your vision, really understand what that is, and then look at maybe some of the things that you've just believed you must do, but maybe you're not translating to the results you want to have. If your ideal customers are not on TikTok, which mine are, I mean, maybe they are, but mine are not. So I don't even have an account. Like don't be in places where your customers aren't. That's one way to simplify. We're going to be talking about this because I don't think it's a one episode thing. We've got a little more coming up for you on this topic, including some really practical and strategic assessments that you can do.
Yeah. Till next time, thanks for listening.
Take care.